future of healthcare isn't just about diagnosing disease, it's about predicting and preventing it altogether. But accuracy and accountability are key considerations when it comes to preserving our human touch in medicine. To discuss how AI can improve patient outcomes, please welcome Stryker Vice President, Innovation and Technology, Orthopedics Group, Robert Cohn, Neuramai, Founder, CEO, and CTO, Geeta Manjunath, National University Health System, Head of Artificial Intelligence Office, Dr. Niam Ki Yuan, and Fortune Asia Editor, Nicholas Gordon. Please welcome to the stage.
All right, welcome everyone to our topic on, patient outcomes, how AI can help with healthcare. We're going to get, second, third, fourth opinions on all of these great topics. I want to start with a question that I'll ask kind of all three of our speakers today. But, as many of us know, Asia's getting older. It's an aging population here in Singapore, where I'm from in Hong Kong, China, Korea, Japan, even other places in Southeast Asia are aging faster than they should. That presents, obviously, some challenges. Healthcare costs will go up, a greater burden of care that governments and health institutions have to think about. But also, there are opportunities for innovations in healthcare, innovations in health tech. So, I'm going to ask all of our speakers about, aging in Asia and the silver economy. But I want to start with Ki Yuan first, given that you're based here in Singapore, which does have an aging population. How is AI and automation kind of set to, change the conversation around healthcare as Asia gets older?
Thanks for that question. As a practicing clinician as well as an implementer of AI technologies in Singapore, we are observing a change in the last 5 years. So what we are really seeing is that the narrative from many years ago was, elderly people can't use technology. They don't have the ability to access apps or AI as we know it. But that's changing, because we are seeing the whole generation of people aging with technology. Mm-hmm. And they therefore are more able to access technology in ways that we could never have done before. And that changes the strategy in which governments, companies will approach using technology platforms to provide healthcare to our patients. So as some real examples, in the past, we tried to use apps to engage our patients. I think that's pretty effective. For the elderly patients, it's usually quite difficult. But with the advent of language models and more capable conversational chatbots, we are seeing a greater adoption and really the ability to provide fairly advanced chat capabilities on platforms that we know about, like WhatsApp or any other messaging app that you have. So we are seeing that trend, and that's positive, especially in the context of ever-improving AI capabilities. And my hope is that we can make these capabilities available to our elderly and open up that care space, and for the commercial world, that market, for them to provide technology to them.
So obviously we have two companies working in this space right now. Robert, I want to start with you. What opportunities is Stryker seeing, as the healthcare industry goes through this transition, as it faces an older population globally that needs more care? What opportunities do you see for AI and automation?
Yeah, thanks for the question, because it's a fascinating one. It's not just an Asia issue as well. You look at the demands on healthcare, you look at demands on resources. The aging population is going to strain our healthcare system and the cost of healthcare in tremendous ways. So a company like Stryker, which is a big multinational medtech company, you could look at everything from endoscopy to orthopedic procedures to stroke. So I have different answers in different ways, depending on if you're talking back of an ambulance, whether you're talking about care that's in the patient room, therapeutics, or whether you're in the operating room. So we really break it down into 4 different areas when we think of AI and the benefit of where AI could be. Firstly, improving outcomes. If you improve outcomes, you improve someone's satisfaction in life. They become more active, they become more healthy, they have less demand later on medical attention. Then there's the quality of care. all patients at all hospitals in all countries do not get the same quality of care. Some in a rural area, say in Japan, may not get the same as an inner city that's advantaged with more tech. So accessibility is a big issue. But if we can standardize the quality of care and you reduce readmission and reoperation, you save tremendously on the cost burden. Then there's patient safety, fall detection. Elderly fall more. Fall pattern, Parkinson's, other diseases, which manifest themselves into other medical problems. If we can detect that sooner or in the patient room and have less issues in the hospital, even better. And lastly, efficiency and economics. If we could somehow work with a hospital and get one more procedure out of that operating room with the same fixed costs, that's efficiency with use of the same labor and resources, and the throughput will be increased. So many different areas, and the opportunity is a really good one.
Geeta, how do you think about this question? I mean, India is starting to get older. It's not as much as it is out here, but it's starting this demographic transition. India is also getting wealthier. That's more demand for better healthcare services. How do you think about this question in terms of how AI and automation will transform healthcare?
Absolutely. I think one of the top important area where I believe AI in healthcare can help is to bridge the healthcare divide that exists between the haves and the have-nots, the developing and the developed countries, and urban and the rural ecosystem, like Robert also mentioned briefly. There are so many women or men, because I work in breast cancer, the first thing that comes to my mind is women. So where they don't have access to screening, diagnosis, because early detection is extremely critical to have a better lifestyle, lower treatment costs, and of course, avoid going back to the hospital again and again. So the tools using AI for early detection as point of care with, let's say, imaging modality, AI imaging, these kind of things will act as additional expertise to the health workers, additional tools to the doctors to not miss an early sign of cancer or cardiovascular disease or even diabetes, because these three are really chronic conditions which is affecting so many women and men, and one of the top causes of deaths as well. So the way I think about AI in healthcare is a tool for the doctor to detect early, a tool to the health worker who can just become a robo-doctor to some extent wherever healthcare facility is not available, right? And so we can get the patient the right treatment at the right time and irrespective of wherever she or he is. So bridging the healthcare divide is where I feel very
Could you tell us a bit more about the actual kind of AI tools that you've developed at Nirama? I mean, I know you have a tool that uses AI to help detect breast cancer early. How does that actually work?
Yeah, great question, and thanks for the opportunity to talk about my startup, which is now 8 years old. The name of the startup is Niram.ai, which is basically non-invasive risk assessment through artificial intelligence. So the whole notion of the startup came about because I lost two of my very close cousin sisters to breast cancer. They were just 38 years and 42 years of age, and that's when I realized how vast this disease is, killing 2,000 lives every day. And this is one of the most curable of all the diseases, by the way, from a cancer perspective. So the reason for this is late detection and no access to mammographic screening. Just to give you an idea, in low and middle income countries, including India, many countries in Africa, Philippines, China, Thailand, and others, the screening rate is 2%, 2.2% to be exact, which is 98% of women are detecting their cancer by hand. This is what we wanted to solve. So we looked at different technologies and we used infrared imaging. It's like a camera like this. We just measure the temperature variations on the chest, and using AI, we convert the temperature map to a cancer health report. We have about 20 different ML models that are working behind the scene to provide the seamless use of AI to just take pictures, frontal, left, right, etc., and convert that into a breast health report automatically with scores indicating the level of abnormality, also explaining where the problem could be so that a follow-up diagnostic workup can be done. So it's a wellness preventive test which is radiation-free, portable, affordable, and most importantly, works for women of all age groups. And that's a fascinating thing for a technologist like me to see real impact on the ground.
Kiyuan, you have to kind of make decisions about, where to use AI, when it works, when it doesn't, when it's not quite ready. I mean, could I ask you to kind of inject some realism into this conversation? I mean, how prepared are we to start including some of these AI tools into the way a hospital works or the way a doctor works? Kind of what stage in the process are we at?
Okay, thanks for that question. I think there are two parts to the answer. So one part is the willingness to adopt AI. So the users, the doctors, the clinicians, the nurses, how willing are they to use the AI? So this is more of like a bottom-up thing, right? And with the advances in AI, and we see all these news articles about what AI can do, understandably, everyone is excited about trying to implement it. But on the other hand, there are structural issues that prevent them from doing so. So healthcare is one of the best examples where you can think of all the barriers you want in any organization. Healthcare has it all, right? Everything from regulation of medical devices, I think Stryker will be very familiar with that, all the way down to administrative challenges to implementing something on the ground. So I think to kind of address this issue, right, you kind of need to have a bottom-up and a top-down approach to bring things together. So I think the top-down approach primarily is please invest, or healthcare organizations should invest in IT infrastructure. Because without IT infrastructure, everything is just talk, right? On the other hand, as part of that top-down approach is to become digitally savvy or become digital first. And that's more of like a policy mandate and enable the people on the ground, right, to take the technology and run with it. I think that should be the way we think about how we can adopt AI in healthcare. Yeah.
Robert, Stryker's Maker robotic system is used in over 1 million procedures globally. So you have a lot of experience kind of seeing how people are using AI now and where it fits best in the process. How far can AI go in kind of planning and executing surgeries? Where must there still be a human surgeon involved? Like where in the procedure can AI play the most effective role?
Yeah, by the way, just like I tell my internal team, I'll say AI does not do surgery, right? It's surgeons that do surgery. AI is a tool. And in the world of robotics, I've actually evolved myself. And let's take a procedure you're mostly probably familiar with, total knee replacement. Everybody knows someone who got an artificial joint, right? And if you look at artificial joint, I started out as an implant person in the 80s and 90s, and I became a robot person. Why? Because it's the most precise tool that you can get. Now that we have a robot being used in 50,000 procedures a month, what's the next workflow for a robot? To use more data. And what's the value of more data, and how do you ingest it? Humanly, it's impossible. It's in the world of AI. So before, if you are, ouch, my knee hurt, what would you do? You would go to a physician. Who would you go to? You go to either who your care provider tells you to go to, or you go to a famous institution. Why you go through a famous institution? Because you believe they're smarter. Why are they smarter? They had more access to information, or they were trained differently, and they work in a bigger hospital with more procedures. How can we standardize that for the world, right? So before, you go to a surgeon, the surgeon says, I was trained this way, this is my implant of choice, here you go off an x-ray. Now, we can use CT scans. We can make three-dimensional models of your bone. We can now say, well, wait a second, we're not going to treat you as just an average person. We're going to treat you as an individual. What's your body weight? How much arthritis do you have? How old are you? What's your expectation? What's your job? What's your family history? We now can do with AI and provide more information for the decision-making of a surgeon than a human is even capable of. And all that information existed before. We never had it in a way, in a digestible manner that someone can act on it. Now, we could pick the best Stryker implant for you. We can now help the surgeon decide where that implant fits in your knee relative to your ligaments and your body structure. And we can predict, are you safe for outpatient surgery? Or should you stay in a hospital 1 day or 3 days? An economic value. So that's the benefit of AI, to help the decision making on procedures we already know where there's clinical issues, and reduce the complications and increase patient satisfaction.
Okay, we may be open for audience questions, so if you have a question, think of it now as I go back to Robert. Obviously trust is a part of this conversation about healthcare. Will human patients trust AI, trust robotic doctors, trust a human doctor that's helped by AI. I know that you actually have an interesting view on this question of trust. So that's why I want you to answer this question first.
Yeah, trust is a funny thing, right? Trust sometimes is a perception. If trust is to the patient, it's the patient's perception of what they either read, and half the time it's on the internet, and I'm not even sure you could trust on the internet. Sometimes when it's a physician, it's the success that that physician had with that company. I could tell you, Stryker, we're an 80-year-old company, and I'm actually responsible for AI governance in my company. So if you think trust on the outside, trust on the inside, we are a very risk-adverse type company, right? And we hold that brand. So there's expectation that Stryker has to deliver. So validation of our models, where we get the data, that the data has no bias, and we still refuse to make a statement that we are in any way practicing surgery and we are not a practice physician. Our role is to provide surgeons with the models that are validated by other surgeons, that that data was the correct data, that their experiences as surgeons, that no AI is overriding the human experience, and only at that time will we release it as an aid right now. We're looking at efficiency components to make hospitals more efficient, as I said, to either reduce the labor shortage on nursing or to help out with hospital efficiencies and reduce waste. But anything that touches a patient, that affects quality of life or an outcome, we are going slow, we are going to prove it, but we are going after known clinical issues at the same time.
Do we have any questions from the floor? Otherwise, I will just keep going. Oh, yes, up front here. Is there a microphone for him? Is there a, I believe we should have microphones on that. Maybe you can just stand up and I will repeat your question.
You have the microphone around the side.
Oh, right. Yes.
Basically, AI as a human being, yes, I'm very proud of it. But in terms of a business perspective, adopting the same technology in hospitals by doctors, it is in terms of a revenue, they might feel that something, they are taking my job away actually. So how do you tackle such issues actually? That's what I am undergoing certain issues in India and other countries.
I might direct this question to Ki-Wan, given that you're responsible for you work in a hospital system.
Doctors are the hardest people to convince, right?
Absolutely.
you try selling them something, right? Whether it's a medical device or a new technology, they're the most skeptical, most dogmatic people that you can have. Yeah. But I think there's hope because if you can help them solve a particular pain point, a problem, right? Or you can give them, put in their hands, I'm a surgeon, right, by training. So you put in my hands something that makes me do my job better. I think that's something that I will gladly accept, provided all the other things are done, right? The regulatory processes and so on and so forth. So one other point to what Robert was saying earlier, the evidence must be there, right? I think the evidence must be there, and evidence generates trust. It's not just about saying, okay, this has a certain p-value or this is great. It's about saying that, okay, the evidence show that in general, surgeons with this tool perform in a certain way. So that is an objective way of engendering trust, right? Apart from all the other things that we do.
Can I add to that? Yeah. So I have to tell you, I thought this would be an issue, and it's not. I don't see it to the magnitude, and I speak all over the world. With the adoption of robotics as an example, you always get your early adopters, then you get your people that wait for the early adopters or the thought leaders to talk from the podium at credible meetings, then you look for sometimes evidence, 5-year clinical results. The adoption of robotics for total knees, because I'll just keep using that example, that wasn't released till 2017 around the globe. It is now the standard of care for Stryker as it sells because it's been proven to benefit outcomes. Right now, cognitive load on physicians. Physicians know some of the complication rate. Physicians don't have access to population health data that AI can provide them. And physicians also want to have happy patients. They really do. And we are just providing more information in the decision making. So we have more of the physician community cheering us on and wanting to go better, faster. And I'm telling you, in this case, it's interesting enough. We have a population of surgeons that wants to go faster than we will even go faster. But I think the adoption of it, once you prove you're going after real issues, it's going to be fast.
Yeah, if I can add, basically. So there's absolutely no shortcut to clinical evaluation and proving the benefit. I'm just saying that again because 8 years ago when we started and then went to a radiologist and say, here is a new test, using AI to detect cancer, and instead of detecting by hand, let's just do it in rural areas. The first thing is we have never seen such a test being used anywhere in the world. AI making a decision. So all of these sort of, reservations come into the picture. And the only solution is to prove that the device independently, though it will be in future used by doctors, but to prove that the device independently detects the cancer or whatever indication you have compared to the standard of care. And not only that, hopefully it will be better, faster, and all, better experience, etc. in addition. So there's no shortcut. To be exact, we are in 20 countries today, and as a startup, we had to actually, now we have about 54 publications, right? So the publications in different contexts, different type of cohorts by independent parties is definitely the only solution to bring the trust. And the second angle is the explainability angle, which the health minister also was mentioning this morning in the breakfast meeting, that it's important when you detect something, the AI has to explain to the doctor why it is detecting and saying something is cancer or not. What actionable thing can the doctor do using this information? Just saying, okay, there is cancer in her, the doctor can't do anything. Instead of that, we actually mark the area where the doctor can further evaluate and confirm that it is really true. So having that short pilot saying, you can use the tool, it performs well, and it explains its results, and you can action it, solves the problem.
It's again the end user, patient's mindset, whatever doctor says, okay, I'm going to do it. And when the doctor says, no, don't go for AI, you need to come for the local, diagnosis kind of activities in hospitals. Okay, again, in this situation, we...
No, the mantra there is, as we've been saying, radiologists using AI will replace radiologists who are not using AI. So they're all aware, so they will collaborate.
Okay, I want to ask Geeta you one more question before we close this off. I mean, so we have the US healthcare system, advanced, lumbering, has its own problems. Singapore, advanced but small. You operate in the Indian context, which is obviously a big economy, a growing economy, very innovative, but still, has a long way to go. How does this question of trust and empathy involving AI in healthcare play out in India?
Yeah, great question. So India is a vast country, diverse economy as well, in the sense that when we go to the rural areas, hardly there's any doctor, one doctor for 1,000 families and so on and so forth we talked about. So their use of AI is very much welcome, particularly if we can use it as point of care device, triaging, enabling this preventive or early detection as simple tools for healthcare workers. For example, we've developed this method where it automatically gives a red, yellow, green. A simple health worker uses a mobile, generates the report, and then she knows that when it's a red, she needs to just send it to the district hospital. So this is feasible. And for those of you who want to develop such things, not just for India now, it's in 20 other developing countries, and as well as US, it's useful. But it's important for every indication, you test completely, make sure that it has high sensitivity and specificity, and leave it in the hands of the health workers. It really is important to bridge the gap.
So we've heard a broad array of opinions from across different parts of the healthcare system, from different types of health systems, different economies. I want to thank Robert, Geeta, and Kiyuan for all of their opinions on AI in healthcare. Please give our speakers a round of applause.
Thank you.